What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff that you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time, and you guys, there's so much happening today. Today is Friday. Today's the end of the work week. 2, WandaVision, the series finale is out. I haven't watched it yet, so we're not going to talk about it. I feel like in my research this morning of like, let's talk about things. Of course, everyone's like posting spoilers, and I'm like, stop. It's one thing to talk spoilers maybe a few days after the episode is aired, but not a few hours. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Chill out, internet. But also, you guys, today, out of anything, even more than the series finale of WandaVision coming out, the thing I am most excited for, you guys, today, March 5th, is the day that theaters in New York City open back up. I am so excited. Kim and I already have our tickets. We're going to go see Judas and the Black Messiah tonight. We already have our tickets. We're so excited. We're going to go see the movie in Harlem. We live in Harlem, so, I mean, the movie theater is like a 5-minute walk from where we live. I'm so excited. You guys, it's been over a year since I've seen a movie in theaters in New York City, and I'm beside myself. I'm ridiculously stoked. This is so great. Oh, all right. So, hold on. I just got a message from my guest. She's on the line right now. Ashley, I'm gonna let you address that yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is coming time traveling all the way from San Diego, California. Cosplayer, nerd, geek, movie lover, doctor. Put your hands together for a very good friend of mine, Dr. Ashley Laurence. Woo!
Hello,
Ashley. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Ashley, you are like would it be fair to say a jack of all trades, a Jill of all trades? Is that like a gender specific thing? You're a jack of all trades. You've got your poker in so many different fires. We're in the same cosplay group. We have been for a few years now. You're a comedian, you're a doctor, you are kind of a pop culture aficionado. What's going on with you? How's it going? Like, tell me about life.
Well, life's fine. Fully vaccinated, so
hooray!
Yay science. Surviving, just getting day by day and living my work week, looking towards Fridays about the Wanda drop, and I'm a little mournful that today will be the last one.
True. However, you know what starts up in 2 weeks?
The
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon. I was like blanking on the Winter Soldier part. It's like a man with an arm.
Maybe that's what they should call it. Falcon and the man with the arm who hits things. Ashley, what can we talk about the text that you just sent me? Like as I was doing the opening, I was talking about WandaVision. What did you just say?
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to give our predictions since neither of us have seen the finale. Of just like what we think how the series will end.
So I talked about this a few days ago. I want to hear what you like. How do you think the series is going to end? Keep in mind, disclaimer: we haven't seen it yet. It's already out. So I mean, people may be watching this being like, no, that's not what's going on. What are your thoughts?
So I think there's a couple things. It's
Oh
all a
no.
dream.
Bob
She wakes up
Newhart,
in
let's not do
Kansas,
that ending again.
and and they were like, "Just kidding. This was the Wizard of Oz remake you the whole time." Um, I would love for them to make Pietro like real and like truly introduce X-Men. That would be incredible if it was this whole season was for a big X-Men reveal. Since I'm a huge X-Men fan as well. Um,
I I tend to
yeah,
think they're
or
not going to
even
do
making
that. Um, I th- I think it's
yeah. But this is my crazy prediction that will not
so
happen.
I'm very certain that not only is uh I think both versions of Vision are going to bite the dust because we know that one, the Vision that was created inside of the Hex, he is bound to the Hex. We saw that when he left the Hex, and bits and pieces of him were flaking off, being absorbed back into the Hex. So we know he cannot exist outside of the Hex. But then there's also actual former robot, uh, uh, referring to White Vision. He doesn't have his personality. I guess there's a chance that those two versions of Vision will merge together. I don't see that happening. That seems a little too convenient for me. I think Wanted really needs to be torn asunder, and I think I'm 95% sure her children are going to die. 95% certain. There's precedent for that in the comics. They were created inside of the Hex, which means if Vision was created inside of the Hex and he's bound to the Hex, so are the kids. The Hex has to go. The Hex has to go by the end of this episode, and that means her kids. So
I think the Hex will go. Uh, but I think for Disney Plus, that's a little
I
dark to have
disagree.
the children
I
go. So
disagree.
I think they're gonna pull something.
I think they may
I mean, I think storyline.
they
You're
may
right.
kill the kids and just get to see Wanda's intense grief, but then in like maybe a post-credit scene or something, there'll be some kind of a tag where we see like Billy's headband, like from the comics. We'll see kind of like see that like, wait a second, where did that come from, kind of thing. I mean, like what they did with Captain Marvel at the end of Avengers Infinity War, like with the beeper, like there's gonna be some kind of maybe like, oh, they're gone, but they're not completely gone. Like Wanda needs that push, like she did in the comics for House of M, um, to explode and say, like, we're gonna get some kind of a no more mutants. I understand that mutants don't exist in this current reality, but I think being that this is the MCU's version of the House of M, she is going to utter some kind of phraseology akin to no more mutants, whether it's no more humans, no more Avengers, no more superpowers, or the inverse. Everybody gets superpowers. Everybody's an Avenger. They're gonna say something along those lines. And maybe that is where, and I think that is my opinion as to where, concerning Pietro. I think you know how like Agnes or Agatha Harkness keeps referring to her husband Ralph, but we've never seen Ralph. It's very possible that Pietro is Ralph, but just now taking a different form, or he's a different version of he's like a different multiverse version of the Pietro that we've seen in the X-Men movies kind of come in,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think he's an imposter. I do think he's an imposter.
Fair point. I think we're getting into real predictions, which ruins the fun for me. So I don't like talking about like what could actually happen.
Well, in that case,
Because you know what happens? It usually does happen, and then I'm like, oh well, I already figured
oh
that out, I
shoot.
guess. Uh,
Well, how about this? Wolverine is gonna burst through the wall and say, "Hey, bub."
yes,
How's that?
yes,
How's that?
perfect. And Jean was alive the whole time.
As long as we can get a Ninja Turtle cameo, that's all I care about.
Wow, completely different universes.
So it's the multiverse. Who cares? You can do whatever you want. Anyway, guys, we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. But before we get into our main topics, if you haven't already done so, head over to youtube.com, type in "Got All of Them Movies." In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a little red button that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that button. What clicking on that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. And with the more subscribers the channel gets, the more watched content the channel gets, meaning I get to make the show my full-time job. As well, the live portion of the show will be moving from Facebook to YouTube on March 17th. That's in less than 2 weeks now, you guys. I'm excited for it. COVID and my recent second furlough, has now resulted in my speeding up the timetable. So the live portion of the show in under 2 weeks on St. Patrick's Day will be streaming from YouTube, not Facebook anymore. So just something to be aware of on the horizon. And as well, if you guys have any kind of questions, if you want to ask me anything about any movie news that you may have heard, any rumors, whispers, if you're just genuinely confused about, I don't understand this portion of blah, 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 send me an email at gottalovethenmovies@gmail.com. As long as it's family friendly, I'll make your question, comment, or bit of breaking news a main topic here on the show. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, now let's go and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 All right, you guys, as we said before, we've got a whole bunch of crazy fun stuff to talk about, and the first of which is this. So back in 2019, when Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, part of that acquisition was an animation film studio called Blue Sky. Blue Sky has been around since the early days of the 2000s. The big properties that they're known for are Ice Age. They've done all the Ice Age movies, which I think there's been like 5. They were working on number 6 currently. They did, I think, Robots, the Robots movie with Robin Williams from like 2004, 2005, somewhere through there. They also did like the Rio movies, like with the birds. Very recently, they did Spies in Disguise. Well, one of the new movies that Blue Sky has been working on, kind of a cutting edge movie, maybe not in terms of animation, but in terms of animated content, was an LGBTQ film called Nimona. And apparently Disney doesn't exactly know what to do with this particular film, and so it is let me back up. Disney is shutting down all of its Blue Sky properties. They currently have 3 projects on the horizon that are still coming out. Ice Age, The Adventures of Buck Wild, was it Nino and Pedro, and they're doing Ron's Gone Wrong, which is kind of like a kid's robot movie. Nino and Pedro, is it Pedro? Sorry, I'm looking at the font is really, really tiny. Nino and Pedro is kind of a spin-off from the Rio films. Of course, there's another Ice Age film coming out, and then an original film called Ron's Gone Wrong, about a kid's robot, sentient robot that comes to life and they become friends, right? Cool. But one of the other projects, like I mentioned, was this film Nimona, which depicts a sexually ambiguous character called Nimona. It's based off of a comic book, and she's kind of goes off on these fantastical adventures, and the villains of the film are a gay couple. Cool, awesome. We're saying on the show all the time, you guys, representation matters, and telling stories that we haven't seen before, telling stories from different people's perspectives, is important. Yes, because it's representation and it matters, but on a grander scale, you guys, we haven't seen these stories before. Like, how many times have we seen boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love, boy and girl, something happens, and boy and girl fall out of love with each other, and then there's some kind of a fantastical event where they come back together, and that's the end of the movie. We've seen that story be played out in so many different ways, again and again and again, and without new perspectives, without other people behind the camera and in front of the camera telling different types of stories. We're just rehashing the same material over and over and over again. This is only a good thing. So with Disney deciding to shut down Blue Sky Animation Studios, nobody was looking forward to this, and it's putting a lot of people out of work. But I understand why they need to shut down the animation studio. I get it. They already have Pixar. They already have Disney original animation studios going on. I get it. Like, they've got enough animated studios. They don't need a third animation studio, right? But here's the thing. They have, like, with these 4 films that are currently being worked on, 3 of them are still, they're still being released. They're still being finished. Disney is still investing the money to finish these films, but the Nimona film is being shelved. And now it's up to the director, to the producers, to shop this film around to other studios, maybe like Netflix or Amazon Prime, or like somebody else. They need some kind of a savior if this film is ever going to see the light of day. And it's also, it still needs like another 10 months of animation. They're not finished on it yet. They're still working on it. Man, it's a disheartening story. It's a disheartening tale, because I feel like, yes, I love Disney. Yes, I love all the stuff that Disney's putting out there, but this is one of those instances where we can look at a situation and say, Disney, why are you spending the money to finish Ice Age? Why are you spending the money to finish a movie about a boy and his robot buddy? Why are you spending the money to finish a movie about, like, a spinoff from BRIO about these 2 bird friends? Cool. I'm all for those movies. Good for you. But if you're going to spend the movie to finish the films that have already been started and exclude a very important, what could be, no, who knows? This movie could be a steaming pile of garbage. Nobody knows. But we don't know unless we try. We need to give it legs. We need to give it the wings that it needs to soar. And if you're just going to say, nah, we're not going to finish this LGBT movie. What are we doing? Ashley, this is disheartening. Like, I understand Disney's reasons for shutting down Blue Sky Entertainment, but when they're reaching out and saying, okay, well, we're only going to take 3 of the 4 movies that you're working on right now to finish. It's, you're a lover of Disney as well. How frustrating is this for you? Like, where do you stand with this whole thing?
I am. There's probably a couple factors, right, that we don't know. Like, how far into production truly were they on the movie? Was it based on, like, purely economic choice for Disney of, like, were the stars too big? Is the foot of the bill too much right now? Not necessarily, I don't think, the storyline. I don't think Disney's afraid of the storyline, because they've been showing a little bit more in their, like, Disney Pixar short animation of LGBTQ representation. But, you know, there could be, like, we don't really know who's making those shot calls. You know, having a non-conforming gender lead is a huge deal, especially now, especially when you know, talking about pronouns is becoming more widespread and more people are being more aware of it, and kind of helping, you know, I think especially animation shapes our youth, right? Yeah. So it helps our youth comprehend maybe tough topics or things that parents don't understand or are above their generation of understanding, and we learn that through animation. So yeah, I am really sad because I didn't know much about this movie to begin with until we're discussing it really today, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. No, I don't get it.
It's one of those stories that, like, I wouldn't have, if it wasn't for me, like, going out and, like, researching articles, I probably wouldn't have found it. But, you know, when the trailer would have dropped, you know, don't judge a book by its cover until you experience it, you know? This is one of those things that I would have liked to have experienced. And like I say before, just because it's an LGBTQ movie, just because it's an important film and it offers representation to to other demographics that usually don't get that same type of recognition doesn't automatically make it a good movie. It makes it a story that's more important to put out there to help saturate the market, but it doesn't automatically make it a good movie. Who knows? This could have been a terrible movie. But based on the popularity, based on the comic book, based on the buzz that has kind of been going, especially with names like Riz Ahmed and Chloe Grace Moretz attached to it, that definitely gets me interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to see 1,000 more Riz Ahmed movies. I find him very captivating as an actor, and also, representation of, someone who's not white is great.
Yeah.
like that, like, let's more, please.
And again, not to say that every film needs to be saturated with non-white people. It's just like, let's just get like, when your representation currently covers 1% and then 99 is everything else is the same, let's kind of try to equal it out a little bit. And with especially captivating people, like you said, like Riz Ahmed, my goodness, he was one of the outstanding portions to me about the Venom movie. Did he have a captivating performance? Not necessarily, but he's interesting. He's fun to watch. He's a good actor. It was a weird movie. It was a fun, weird movie, but yeah, why not? Anyway, guys, we can circle this topic for hours, but I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about Nimona being shelved? Do you think it's going to find life elsewhere? Maybe on Netflix, maybe on Amazon Prime, maybe on Apple TV Plus. That could be a really great place for it. But what are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know. All right, guys, moving on to our next bit of news today. You may have heard that there's always been an upcoming Star Trek movie. Star Trek is one of those properties that, oh, cool, we'll get a few movies, and then it'll be dormant for a while. And then we'll get some more movies, and then it'll be dormant for a while. And very recently, there's been, Paramount has had a lot of buzz surrounding an upcoming Star Trek movie. But then, once they finally got maybe like a Star Trek 4 within the, the J.J. Abrams kind of universe going a little bit, all of that fell apart because, they wanted to bring back Chris Hemsworth. Chris Pine's contract he was being extremely undervalued in that regard. So that whole thing fell apart. And of course, there was Quentin Tarantino. Well, now it looks like another Star Trek movie is on the horizon. And of course, I didn't have this properly queued up. There you go. It looks like there's another Star Trek movie on the horizon, and this time it is coming from one of the writers of Star Trek Discovery. Now, I never watched Star Trek Discovery. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan on the planet. I've seen all the movies. I'm going to upset a lot of people here when I say I'm really only a fan of the J.J. Abrams films, which I know is extremely divisive. People are going to hate me for saying that, but it's also true. I don't hate the other Star Trek movies, not at all. I just prefer kind of the flashiness, the accessibility that the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies offer. That's more palatable to me, but I completely understand how the other films or the other television shows are more palatable to other audiences, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just different, right? But with Star Trek Discovery itself being such a divisive show, some people love it and some people are like, nope. It really makes me wonder, how is a Star Trek movie who comes being written from one of the writers from Star Trek Discovery, how is that going to be received? Is it going to come out on Paramount Plus? Which I think if it did, that would be a perfect place for this upcoming Star Trek film. It would be a perfect place for kind of a burgeoning writer. I had to look up the writer, and let's jump into the article here. The new film is being penned by Kalinda Vasquez. Kalinda Vasquez, had to look up her IMDb. She's never written a feature film before. She's written multiple episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Hold on, I have her IMDb right here. Once Upon a Time, La Femme Nikita, Prison Break, The Runaways from Hulu. So I mean, like she's got some decent credits behind her. They're all television credits. She's never written a feature before. And, you know, as I'm looking at the certain trends between, like, the common threads between all of these shows, I'm not seeing a big budget action Star Trek film on her horizon. What I'm seeing is a decently sized budget for a made-for-television, or rather made for Paramount Plus kind of event movie. I think that is where, of course, like, I'm just speculating, pure speculation here. I mean, she could blow us all away and write the greatest script that's ever been, and big budget action. It's going to blow the J.J. Abrams films out of the water. Ashley, you're hearing about this. I'm not. I actually don't know where you stand with Star Trek. Are you a huge Trek fan? Are you like meh? Like, where do you stand with that? But also, like, how does this upcoming film strike you? And given Vasquez's filmography, how do you think that this film is going to fare?
Well, I'll start off with Star Trek fan or not. I have never seen any of the old movies at all. So I've only seen the J.J. Abrams universe. And it has a special space in my heart because it was sort of the first date that Keith and I, my husband, had. But it was where he wanted to go see it, and I said, that looks lame, Star Trek, blah. And then I secretly went and saw it with some friends, but then I still wanted to go on a date with him, so I hid that fact. But then he discovered the movie stub had fallen out of my pocket when I was in his car. So he caught that I had already seen it. And then I saw it again with him. But that's sort of like a weird Star Trek thing that we have.
What a beautiful moment. What a beautiful thing for you guys to share.
Yeah. In terms of the new film, I've heard good things about Discovery, the show. I haven't seen an episode. I think you're right where this could probably be a good streaming movie, not necessarily like a theatrical release movie, depending on like how good she is with writing action. I think that kind of makes or break a Star Trek film for me, at least, is like having some amazing action sequences. I don't know if they'll have the budget to bring back the love of my life, Benedict Cumberbatch, but if they did, I'm all in. I don't even care if it's a good movie. I just need another shower scene and we're good to go. Because I love me Benedict. But I mean, I don't know. I'm excited for her. Good for her. Let's see what happens. Maybe it might probably honestly be more true to the original movies, which I think a lot of people said Discovery is. So I don't have any good context for that because I've never seen them. That's
totally fair. I mean, I think there's a lot of different directions that this film could go. And as you say, I think like it's kind of exciting to see how this is all going to shake out. Big question for you guys. What do you think the new Star Trek film is going to how do you think it's going to come to fruition? Do you think it's going to be a Paramount Plus release? Do you think, given Kalinda Vasquez's filmography, that it's going to be more in line? Maybe it'll be a standalone Discovery movie. Maybe it will be. Who knows? Who knows how this is going to shake out? What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know. All right, guys, our next bit of movie news today is a franchise that is near and dear to my heart. As everybody knows, I am a huge James Bond fan, which means ipso facto I'm a big fan of the spy genre, and there are only two spy genre franchises in my personal opinion that are worth any grain of salt. That is obviously James Bond, and then also Mission Impossible. I love Mission Impossible, you guys. I remember as a kid Oh man, I remember as a kid watching the the original series, but also the 1988. It was only one season. It didn't do very well, but in 1988 they did a reboot version of the television show. I think it was just called Mission Impossible: 88. I think is what it was. I love Mission Impossible so doggone much. And in 1996, when the first film came out. It was like I understand that everyone's like real big introduction to like the summer blockbuster movies was Jaws and Star Wars, like 1977, 1975 or 4 is when Jaws came, like whenever it came out. In the 70s, that's when people credit like the big budget, big blockbuster, action summer, blah, blah, blah. For me, it was the summer of 1996, and it was Mission Impossible. That was the big movie for me. And so ever since, I have been a huge Mission Impossible fan. I love Tom Cruise. I love Ethan Hunt. I love this whole journey that we've gone on. And now, director Christopher McQuarrie, who's directing both Mission Impossible 7 and 8, kind of simultaneously. I mean, like there's been reports that they're gonna push the pause button on Mission Impossible 8, but they were supposed to film it back to back. Now it's gonna have like a 2-month break, and then they're gonna jump right back into production. But yesterday on social media, Christopher McQuarrie dropped a new set photo of Kittredge. If you've seen the first Mission Impossible movie, Kittredge is he's the director of the CIA. He's the one who's like, oh, we need to find Ethan Hunt. He's gone rogue. He's killed his whole crew. We need to bring him in and take him to justice. Well, now, thanks to Christopher McQuarrie, we have a brand new set photo where they're bringing back Kittredge into the movie. Back into the movie sphere. And here we have a Kittredge sitting on a train, reading a book. It's very like 1930s, 1920s noir, right? He's on a beautiful train. It's all decked out, has all the bells and whistles. It looks like old-timey school, like old school furnishings, but like very fancy furnishings. And there he is, Henry Sursney, in his glorious glory right there, just reading his book on a train. I'm excited to like, I always get excited when franchises like this bring back old characters that we're familiar with. We get to say, oh, I know that guy. Like, of course, the MCU does it all the time, but they're the ones who've perfected it. But I love seeing the same kind of concept pop up in other movies. We have no idea what like his story is going to be. Maybe he's just doing a quick little cameo. Maybe it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I used to be the director of the CIA, Mr. Ethan Hunt. Hey, do you remember that time 20 years ago when I tried to arrest you and put you in prison for the rest of your life? Yeah, water under the bridge. Hey, here's a new mission. Yada yada yada. Woof, Ashley. Like, clearly I'm just a little excited about this. I'm just a little excited. It's just a set photo. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. Are you a fan of the Mission Impossible film franchise? And like, what does bringing back Kittredge's character into the franchise kind of mean or represent?
I think it means a beginning to the close. Or I'm going to pull a Harry Potter reference. I open at the close.
Oh no.
I think it is a last call.
Oh
for
no.
Tom Cruise. And I think they are wrapping up Ethan Hunt's long spy history, and they're going to pass the torch to somebody else in the movie. But I think bringing back Kittredge is probably that sweet goodbye to Tom. Sorry. I think Mission Impossible will continue to exist. I just think Ethan Hunt as a character will either be done, or they'll try to James Bond it and he get recast as Ethan Hunt exists on, but I don't think so. I think Ethan Hunt is always going to be Tom Cruise, so I think they would have to just create a different spy with a different name and still use the Mission Impossible
I would agree with
structure.
that. This is something that this is a concept that they've been toying around with ever since Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is Mission Impossible 4. The reason that they put Jeremy Renner in the movie, reportedly at the time, was that they were going to start seeding him in these movies and kind of make him the new face of the franchise. And then there was speculation that, they're not going to do that anymore because Jeremy Renner actually, turns out he's not as popular as an actor as we all thought he was going to be. At the time, it was 2012 or something. He was in Avengers. He did Wind River. He was doing he was Jason Bourne, or he was in one of the Jason Bourne movies for a minute. And so I think people were kind of looking at Jeremy Renner's going to take over the Mission Impossible franchise, and Tom Cruise is going to go away. And then Tom Cruise just never went away, and Jeremy Renner's role was diminished a little bit. I mean, it's not to say that they can't do that, but I kind of like Ilsa Faust, the character of Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson. This is going to be her third and fourth film in the Mission Impossible franchise consecutively. So it's quite possible that maybe we know that she's been disavowed. I'm just going with your theory for a second here, Ashley. She's been disavowed by her own British government. She's kind of a rogue agent with no country, so it's very possible that in Mission Impossible 7 or 8 she's going to be absorbed into the IMF. She's already basically a part of Ethan Hunt's team. Maybe she's going to take over being the new face of Mission Impossible. Who knows?
That's a good theory, for sure. I definitely think it's Tom Cruise's last film, purely because
That's
you
fair.
reach an age where you just can't keep jumping out of a bus, an airbus. You just physically can't keep
I
doing your
like
own
the analogy
stuff.
you used. You just can't keep jumping out of a bus, but jumping out of a bus would be one of the smaller stunts that he's ever done. Literally
I would just say airbus, but okay.
jumping off the Goodyear blimp. But yeah, no, he's going to outer space in an upcoming who's directing it? I can't remember the name. He's going to outer space. He learned how to fly fighter jets for Top Gun Maverick.
No, Tom Cruise can do it all. I don't doubt his ability, but I do doubt his face. It's just over. It's the certain time the studio is like, okay, we need a fresh young ingenue to keep this going, and he'll make his cameos or anything. But I really think this is the end for him.
Quick question before we move on. What are the chances the torch is going to be passed to Kevin Hart? Can you imagine a Kevin Hart Mission Impossible movie?
I think Simon Pegg would have a better chance because he's actually in the movies.
Anyway, guys, big question for you is, where do you think the Mission Impossible franchise is headed? What do you think the significance of putting Henry Czerny back in the films, reprising his role as Kittredge, is going to be in the films? Do you agree with Ashley? Do you think that they're wrapping up Tom Cruise's story, or rather Ethan Hunt's story? Or do you think Tom Cruise still has some life left in him? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our last bit of movie news today. We've known for a while that Disney has been doing live action adaptations of their popular films. We've seen, I think it was Cinderella that kicked the whole thing off with Lily James. And then we've seen live action adaptations of, The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. And most recently, we just got a trailer for Cruella. And Ashley, I know you have some strong feelings about Cruella. But now we get some casting news. We've known for a long time that Tom Hanks, I almost said Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks is going to play Geppetto in the upcoming Pinocchio film. Well, now one of the big stars of Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket, is going to be voiced by no other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I love this casting news. This just seems like a perfect fit for me. Ashley, last night when we were on the phone, and I told you that this is going to be one of the topics that we're talking about today, you had quite a visceral knee-jerk reaction. Is there any way that I can get you to recreate that on camera in 4 seconds or less?
Yeah, it was.
No, what's the cause of this visceral reaction? For like, are you pro Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket? Are you anti? Like, where do you sit with this?
My immediate thing when you just tell me Jayla is gonna be Jiminy, I'm like, what? Why? He just does not strike me as Jiminy Cricket.
But they look alike.
Can he sing? Can he sing?
Oh,
can he
sing? This man does it all. He's a singer. He's a dancer. He's a. Have you? So on Saturday Night Live, I want to say this was back when Inception was coming out. Internet, please fact check me there. I want to say that he did this as Inception was coming out. For the open, you know how like every host always comes out on stage and they do like their big opening monologue. His opening monologue was a recreation song and dance number from Singing in the Rain, where Donald O'Connor starts running around the room and like jumping over furniture and like climbing on the wall, like jumping through walls and doing backflips and whatever, for the number Make 'Em Laugh. Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. And so he recreated that whole thing. He was dancing, it was perfectly timed. He did almost a screen accurate recreation of Donald O'Connor's Make 'Em Laugh from Singing in the Rain. So can he sing? My boy can sing.
Okay, all right. I think that the other thing that comes with like my knee-jerk reaction is he voices Sandman in the Sandman audio.
Yes.
I don't even know what you call it. Recreation, right? And when that first came out as casting, I was also like, what? Why? I love J-Let. I do. I'm a J-Let fan. But I want to see his pretty face. And I don't want to hear him do voice acting. I'm like, my huge problem with any voice acting choices, especially Disney and big companies now, is that they're using celebrities and not true voice actors, who I think are a dying art, and I think it's sad. But there is another casting in this Pinocchio. I was looking at the list, and they actually do use a voice actor for one of the characters. So that I was like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. But I think that's mainly my thing. And I'm interested with Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. He can do no wrong. But also Pinocchio, with their live actions, they have been trying to be so more accurate with time, and it's supposed to be Italian story. So why not cast Italians?
I've noticed that as well. There's something about I love Tom Hanks. As you say, he can do no wrong. It does seem like an odd casting choice. I mean, he is a big name. He'll do it just fine. I know he'll be just fine in the role. But yeah, I have had a similar. I mean, like at the same time, we don't want like a Marlon Brando Godfather-esque Geppetto. Hey, Pinocchio. Like that would just be weird. I definitely would not like to see that. I don't know why, but there's something about thinking about Tom Hanks as Geppetto that has given me some really strong The Santa Claus movie vibes. Maybe it's just me. Santa Claus the movie is a complete abomination. It's garbage. It is complete trash.
Are we talking about like Santa Claus?
Like it was made in the early 80s. No.
Like,
it's called
Tim Allen?
Santa Claus the movie, and it stars Dudley Moore as one of Santa Claus's head elves. it's so bad. There's no story to it at all. It's just, well, now we're going into a review of Santa Claus the movie, but it's just a guy and his wife who are sledding through the snow, and they see a mirage. They see a mirage on the snowy horizon. They're like, what is that? And it's all these elves who have conjured a Christmas tree in the middle of nowhere. And they're like, oh, you are the chosen one. And he's like, I am? Cool. You are now going to be Santa Claus, and you're going to spend the rest of eternity making toys. And he and his wife are like, wow. Okay. Never mind their family. Never mind like all of their friends. They just go off into this weird dreamscape, whatever, and they're gonna make toys. It's the weirdest thing. That movie's so weird. Anyway,
I will say, I know I'm gonna be disappointed because every Disney live action has disappointed me thus far, to the most degree. There's a few exceptions, but the donkeys are not going to be smoking. The donkeys are not going to be drinking. And that ruins it for me. I need them to be full donkeys to like, and I know they're gonna change that, and that makes me very sad. And,
what if they're vaping?
What if they're vaping? In this movie.
Does that change it?
They're vaping donkeys. So I think those are my two hot takes on that. Also, you mentioned, I think actually Maleficent was the first.
Oh, it might have been. Yeah, I think you're right.
Of the Disney remakes.
Right.
But it's you don't really think about it because it's not a remake, right? It's a whole different story about Maleficent. Where Cruella is not 101 Dalmatian remake. It's a whole its own movie, separate thing. Which is probably the appropriate take that Disney should be going instead of just trying to remake these movies that everyone's always disappointed in because it's not the animated film.
They make money.
They do because people want family movies still. They still want to have that Disney enjoyment. I mean, I'm still going to them and I hate every second of it.
I didn't hate Aladdin. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, they said, like, Aladdin was fine. Like, there was a few that I was like,
Jungle Book, I loved. I
passable.
unabashedly loved the Jungle Book remake. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, well, Jon Favreau is pretty great. Though, I think Lion King fell very flat. And I think the problem is that the animals can't really emote.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, got to make it photorealistic. Anyway, guys, a big question for you is, what do you think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt being cast as Jiminy Cricket? What do you think this Pinocchio movie is going to shape up to be? Are you looking forward to it? Are you more in line with Ashley's point of view and just saying, like, we're kind of done? Like, we'll go see them, but they're not good. The live action remakes. What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know. All right, guys, we have moved to the final portion of the show today where we're going to go and take your live comments and questions. Some of you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long, so now we're going to go ahead and address those right now.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys, some of you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long. And first comment comes from Natalie Kaz, guest on the show from yesterday. Natalie says, Nimona might have been a project that's struggling. Overblown budget? Maybe there was a lack of confidence. Sad it fell through, though. Yeah, I mean, like, those are great points. Things that I never stopped to think of. I mean, like I said before, just because it's a story that we haven't seen told yet, doesn't necessarily make it a good movie. I mean, yeah, maybe it's possible that that Disney saw what because they were halfway into production. Yes, they still have another 10 months to finish the film, but they were halfway into production in animating this thing, storyboarding it, and all the rest of it. So maybe it's possible that Disney saw it and they just didn't have the confidence in it, and so they scrapped it. That very well could be. Again, like, maybe it was an overblown budget. It does make my heart sad a little bit, though, to know that it's a very unique kind of movie. And I think that's what I'm lamenting over, is that it's a unique kind of movie that gives voice to a very different audience that has yet to be represented in the movies. And I'm specifically referring to animation. We haven't really seen an LGBTQ animated film yet. There's been whispers here and there, like in other projects and other studios and whatever, but not a full-blown head-on, this is what it is. Ashley, do you have any additional thoughts about it?
No, I mean, I think we fairly covered it, and I think Natalie's, I think it's definitely what I agree. I think probably it was purely a budget choice. And interesting that she says, maybe it was failing, maybe they're having a really hard time animating certain things or having good animators, and animation's expensive.
It is.
And if you're blowing your whole budget on big names like, Chloe Mitz.
Chloe Grace Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah.
I mean, she's a big star now. She's been in a lot of films.
She's in that Tom and Jerry.
She definitely probably took a lot of their budget, and
yeah,
it's also different when it's like Disney didn't start off producing this movie, so they never really agreed to it, right? They're just acquiring this debt from Fox, and then they have to just decide what they need to liquidate and what they're going to keep putting money into.
Yeah, I agree. And to that point, when you have projects like Ice Age that are a guaranteed moneymaker, you have projects like Rio, guaranteed moneymaker, IPs that people are already familiar with, and also the Little Boy and His Robot kind of movie. Okay, granted, it's an original film, it's an original story, but it's more palatable. And when I say it's more palatable, I mean it's more accessible to audiences. It's not such a specific niche kind of a film. It's just more accessible. So, I can understand why they would go with those films and not this one. It just hurts my heart a little bit that we're just not going to get it.
Yeah. Well, Ice Age, I mean, I can absolutely see why they choose that the most. So, it already has a built-in audience. They already know they're going to get a return for their money. Where this movie, they have to build an audience and hope
it's like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They all started becoming garbage after the first one. The first one was amazing, but they keep making money. So they keep making more. So, because we're dummies, and we go see everything that Disney does. Robbie Spratt says, I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan and have always been. First of all, Robbie Spratt, I haven't heard from you for a while, my good friend. Hope you're well. I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan and have always been involved in the online community. A lot of devoted fans also like the flashy, updated visuals of the J.J. Abrams movies. The problem is that the new films are objectively not good. The writing, the characters, the plot, the pacing, etc. all have major problems. All we want is a quality film with updated visuals that stays true to the values of the show. The new television shows are divisive. The new television shows are divisive as well for those same reasons. The visuals are great, but the quality everywhere else is lacking. That seems like a lot of similar critique that I've heard from various Star Trek fans over the years, is that, I like the J.J. Abrams movies for what they are, because they are kind of flashy and they're less substantive. I think that's why I'm a Star Wars fan over a Star Trek fan, is that Star Wars plays more into the fantasy element, whereas Star Trek actually has something of value to say. Not that I'm against things that are worth being talked about and having those discussions of what life could be like, because Star Trek is, I don't want to say it's preachy, it's not preachy at all, but it definitely gives us a look as to what humanity could be if we follow a few simple rules, and I think that's awesome. But it does lean into the science fiction aspect of it, whereas Star Wars leans more into the fantasy aspect of things. But yeah, I agree with you. They're not perfect movies. And I completely understand the Star Trek community's disappointment with those kinds of films or in television shows. Ashley, do you have a different take?
No, I honestly was kind of expecting a true Trekkie to make that comment, because I a lot of people who are diehards into the older films and specifically the older TV shows as well, and how like the newer films just never scratched that itch that they were looking for. So I think, I don't know, hopefully, this, young new writer who I think probably stems a lot of her writing from the originals, because I think she is a true fan, may give you the movie that you're looking for.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
I mean, fingers crossed. I do remember some of the older films. When I say the older films, I mean they're not that old. Like from in Star Trek Insurrection, I have a personal connection with that film because my father and I went to go see it. Every now and again, my dad and I would do like father-son dates, and we'd go out and see movies. I remember seeing Muppet Treasure Island in the theater with him. I remember we went to go see Star Trek Insurrection, not because I was a big Star Trek fan, but it was kind of like the big flashy movie of that summer. And I was like, Dad, like, let's go do this thing together. And we did. And now that my father's gone, we lost him. I don't know where he went. I'm being completely facetious. Now that he's dead and buried, I get to have these wonderful memories of like, oh yeah, I like Muppet Treasure Island. That was a great time that I got to hang out with my dad. Star Trek Insurrection, it was a so-so movie, but I got to experience it with my dad. It was like an us thing. It wasn't, I mean, yes, I love my family stuff as well, but like it was something I got to do with my dad, and that was really cool. Moving on, Natalie Kazarowski says, I missed the M.I. Colon movie. Do you know what she's talking about?
But you had mentioned the M.I. TV show, and you said, I think it was M.I. colon something. You phrased specifically something with a colon.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible colon Ghost Protocol. Is that? I think that's what I said. Mission Impossible colon Ghost Protocol. Natalie, can you Natalie, I know you're still watching. Can you please clarify what that comment is? Natalie goes on to say, "Wow, name check Donald O'Connor with a emoji." Thank you. I mean, that's a deep cut. Donald O'Connor from Singing in the Rain. He was like the lesser known of the three big stars of Singing in the Rain, but he was my personal favorite. Have you seen it, Ashley?
Nope.
But you're familiar with the film, though, right?
That it is a large pop culture sensation. But I have actually zero context for the film. I don't know anything
so
about
I mean, like there's the big classic "I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain," like that whole chestnut. You familiar?
Yes.
Sorry, hold on. Singing in the. Why is it not popping up on? What is happening? On IMDb, there it is. Okay. It's Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Princess Leia's mother, Debbie Reynolds.
Oh, Debbie Reynolds. That's right. That was like one of her larger films.
It's oh man, it's so good. I mean, they have the make 'em laugh. The whole story is that Gene Kelly is like a big famous actor. Debbie Reynolds just happens to be like walking down the street at the same time that he's like trying to get away from like this crazy mob who's like, "Oh, you're an actor, we need your autograph." And so he jumps into Debbie Reynolds' car, and he's like, "Help me, save me." And she's like, "You're a strange man, get out of my car now, please." It's so weird. And so of course they like because of this happenstance, they just happen. It's like a chance meeting. She's also like a burgeoning kind of actor. Like, I want to be a big name actor. But of course, she knows exactly who he is. Donald O'Connor is the best friend of Gene Kelly. They're both actors. They're working on this thing. The whole crux of the movie is that in one of the movies that Gene Kelly is in, within the movie, Singing in the Rain, his co-star, the female lead, she can't her voice is so nasally and offbeat that it doesn't fit in line with the movie that they're currently making. So she speaks her lines as normal, but then they get Debbie Reynolds' character to come in and do voiceover on top of her voice to have like this beautiful singing voice. And it's like it's a whole thing, but it's such a I love that movie. It's so good.
I'll put it on the list.
Eric Nepom. Oh, Eric. He was a guest on the show earlier this week. I think it was Monday? Tuesday? I can't remember. Eric was on the show earlier. Eric says, for Trek, all I want is a look at a hopeful future and how we as a society can be better. I think you just summed up what Star Trek is. You just summed up exactly what Star Trek is. It's a look at the future with a well-told story about how society can be better. And wasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that the whole story of, was it Star Trek 5, where they go back in time to the 1980s and they save the whales from being extinct or something? Ashley, have you heard of this?
All I know is it's like what every odd number or even number is supposed to be the bad one, and con happens a lot. That's my only frame of reference. And then these are all the Shatner movies, right?
Yes. So you're referring to Khan as in Khan, the Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Man, somebody else can correct me on this. I know I'm gonna get it wrong, but like, so Khan, Kahn. Or a Khan, something like that. I believe he was only in the one movie until they kind of brought his character back for the J.J. Abrams films, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Somebody correct me. I'm not fully confident in that answer, but there's a storyline where the future, because as we all know, Star Trek takes place in the future, right? And say what? What?
I said what?
And their current situation is like deteriorating. Society is like falling apart, something like that. And I can't remember, but they traced it. They're like, what is the origin point for why is society falling apart the way that it is? And they traced it all the way back to this one singular event that happened in like 1986 that was involving like save the whales, and we didn't save the whales the way that we should have. And so the Star Trek team finds a way to go back in time to the 1980s, and they save the whales. And it's so heavy-handed in its commentary, but I know that it's also universally loved by everybody. It's one of the films that is so ridiculous, but everybody just seems to love it. Anyway, that's what I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Natalie Kazarowski says they should put Tom Hanks in a Star Trek movie. Old guys and dads love that.
Just, I know what we'll do. We'll put Tom Hanks in this movie. You know why? Because old dads love it.
I will go out on a branch, on a limb, and say my mother would love that. My mom is an unabashed Tom Hanks fan.
It's true. I don't think there's a lot of Tom haters out there, is there?
Well, no.
Like, I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I hate that."
Oh, another Tom Hanks movie. Didn't we have one last year? Yeah, I don't think there are. I would be interested to know if there are like Tom Hanks hate groups on Facebook, but at the same time, I don't need an answer to that question.
And I don't want to know that person.
That just seems like a trash human. Eric Nepom says, totally. What is that in reference to? Sure.
Maybe Star Trek?
Totally. I'm not sure. Or maybe he's referring to Natalie's comment. Put Tom Hanks in a Star Trek movie. Eric Nepom's like, totally. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Natalie says, in reference to her MI colon movie reference, she said, it's that you said colon. Oh, okay. So, so what Natalie is referencing is a non-existent film titled Mission Impossible:
Yeah, that is Tom Cruise's actual last Mission Impossible movie. He has to get his final colonoscopy
It's the
because
most impossible.
of the colon cancer.
The most impossible
obviously.
of all of his missions. That's yeah. It's probably way more graphic.
It's just the opening credits is just the scope, like the scope going through the colon.
Instead of the fuse. Dun, 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 dun. Like what? It's supposed to be a fuse on fire, but it's lit up and it's going through like a pink tunnel. What is happening? Oh man. Eric Nepom says Star Trek 4 The Voyage Home, Save the Whales. Okay, Star Trek 4. I was off by one. He says,
so it's the even movies that are the bad
yeah, but
ones.
everybody loves Star Trek 4 though.
Okay, then it's the odd ones because they like Han. So that was 2. So it is the even ones. So we like the even Star Trek movies. We don't like the odd Star Trek movies. Which makes me wonder
which one was Insurrection. I want to say that was an odd numbered movie. Eric Nepom says Enviro Cinema at its best, worst, most aggressive. Oh yeah. Yeah, because that whole movie was so heavy-handed, talking about Save the Whales in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Yeah, it was. I only saw it the one time. I could probably stand to sit through it again for a repeat viewing. But yeah, it. Robbie Spratt said that's gross and hilarious in reference to my finger colonoscopy. Yeah, you're welcome, Robbie. That one was just for you, my friend. Dun, 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 dun.
Insurrection was in 98. I don't know if that helps.
Nope. 98. What a good year. Yeah, Enviro Cinema at its best, worst, most aggressive. Yeah, there were great things about the movie. There were horrible things about that movie. In fact, Kim and I just sat down to watch Amy Poehler's new film, Moxie, the other day. Have you seen Moxie? Have you heard of it? Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of the name. I didn't know it was Amy Poehler, which makes me more interested.
She wrote and directed
Tell me your thoughts. Should I watch this film?
I think you should. I ended up liking it at the end. The message of the film is down with the patriarchy from start to finish. And it's a girl. She's like 16 years old. It's kind of her adventures in high school and her.
You know what? I saw the trailer. I did see the trailer. And I'm caught up in my brain now.
Oh, for anyone listening who's not familiar with it, 16-year-old girl in high school. She's coming to terms with like, wait a second, what is the deal with like all of this stuff happening in the world? Like my mom used to be, her mom is played by Amy Poehler. Mom used to be like a punk rocker, revolutionary protester when she was in high school, like all this stuff, right? And so she kind of starts adopting these ideas of like, why are we just taking society at face value? Like, what is actually happening here? And so she goes on this journey of like taking down the patriarchy, but like in her way. Parts of the movie I really enjoyed. Other parts of the movie were so heavy-handed in hitting you over the head, saying like the patriarchy is bad. And I'm not saying it isn't bad. I'm saying that from my perspective, I was just like, I get it. Like just because my activism looks a little bit different from yours, I felt like I was being told that I'm doing it wrong. And that's the part that I didn't appreciate. The rest of the movie I thought was awesome. Like it's a really well told story. It's an interesting story. It's a story that needs to be told. Again, like different perspectives. We can only benefit and grow from these perspectives of storytelling. It was just for my taste. Now, Kim had a very different take on it. She was like, no, I loved it from start to finish. Great. Awesome. Like, I'm glad she had that
Well,
experience.
I think that's definitely probably the gender difference.
1000% correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're coming at it from different perspectives, and I felt like I was being spoken down to, where she felt more empowered. And great, that's what the movie was designed to do, was to give people the language and the tools and the empowerment to go out and make a change, make a difference. And I think that was really cool. It just, like I said, just a little heavy-handed for me. Yep. Anyway, guys, that is it for our comments today. Thank you so much for commenting. Thanks very much for being a part of the conversation. Thanks for giving us stuff to talk about. Ashley, thank you for being here today. You have given us a lot of alternate perspectives and things to talk about, and just bouncing ideas off of each other. Where can people find you online, and what projects do you have coming up in the future you'd like to plug?
Oh, goodness. Well, you can find me on the Instagrams at Vero19, as you can see on the screen here. And I also Twitter, same handle, but never, rarely, so don't bother. I don't really have much projects coming up because I don't do anything.
But you're an improviser?
Thanks for following. That's true, but I haven't done improv since the pandemic, so I don't have any like shows or anything. Sometimes I make cocktails on my Instagram, so if that's something that you find interesting, you can follow me for those things. I've also considered like doing some mocktails for people if you request. So yeah, you want to see a drink? Send me a message, I'll make you one.
Dr. Ashley Laurence, thank you so much for being on the show. I look forward to having you back when you have a day off, such as today.
Yay! Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
All right, guys, that will do it for the show today. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share, because that is exactly what Star Trek, The Voyage Home would want you to do. Save the whales, you guys. Save the whales. Anyway, guys, this is Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff that you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions. And sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world, if you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, please, I implore you, take those opportunities. As always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'm going to the movies. It's a weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday.